Hello everyone, Thempire Ian here with new cards, new Monarchs even. This is huge. People love Monarchs. This is probably going to be painful because Monarch in the modern day is a stun deck, and it's going to be painful. For those who don't know, Monarch is a deck that has a long and storied history. First started in DM, late DM, and then continued through the GX era. Eventually, there was a starter deck that introduced like a whole suite of Monarch stuff, including the Squires, which are small little Monarchs. The main Monarchs are tribute guys who do something when they're tributed, or when they tribute summon. And the Squires were to facilitate that. And then we got the Mega Monarchs as well, which are bigger versions of the Monarchs that require 2 tributes or a tributed a monster who was tribute summoned for their tribute. And then with that structure deck, we kind of created a bit of a deep draw deck. There's like extra deck Monarch and there's non-extra deck Monarch, and then we got a bunch of stun cards too. It's kind of been a messy period for Monarch ever since. But we fairly recently got a new Monarch, which was like Thessalos, but dark and fire. It was like a combination of Thessalos and Caius, but it was just called Thessalos. So let's see what's going on with this new wave of support, if it's more in line with that combination card or what's going on here. So first up, we have Eidos, the Underworld Monarch. So Eidos, let's get a look here, because Eidos was previously a card. I believe it was one of the Squires. Okay, cool. Are we just, oh, I need to, there we go. I was like, is it just not working today? Because sometimes this just breaks. Yeah, okay, Eidos is the Underworld Squire. So he's the Squire I was talking about. The interesting thing about the Monarchs is that they're not really defined by the archetype. Even though like every Monarch has Monarch in the name, every Squire has Squire in the name, every Mega Monarch has Mega Monarch in the name. Despite that, that's not really the determination of the archetype. The determination of the archetype is the stat line. The Squires are 800, 1000. The regular Monarchs are 2800 or 2400, 1000, and the Mega Monarchs are 2800, 1000. Which means, stuff like Terra King Salmon are also Monarchs. It's really funny. So let's see what's going on here. Eidos, the Underworld Monarch, is level 6. So it's level 6 with 2400 attack and 1000 defense, which makes it a Monarch, a normal Monarch. Which you could also tell by the fact that it's called Monarch. Very interesting that the Eidos has gotten an upgrade to Monarch. You'll use the first, second, and third effects of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is normal special summon, you can add 1 Monarch spell trap or monster with 2800 attack and 1000 defense from your deck or graveyard to your hand. That's pretty strong. There's a lot of very powerful Monarch spell traps. Or you can get one of the Mega Monarchs, which just sounds really bad, but whatever. You can declare an attribute. 1 face-up monster on the field becomes that attribute. This is relevant because it makes it easier to summon the Mega Monarchs by their effect. Because the Mega Monarchs contribute a tribute summon monster of a specific attribute. So this can make it whatever attribute you need. If you tribute summon a monster with 2400 or more attack and 1000 defense while this card is in the graveyard, add this card to your hand or special summon it. Cool. And if it does the search even if it's on special summon. So this one doesn't need to be tribute summoned to get this effect off, which is pretty nice. Let's see here. Tessera, the Prime Squire. Oh, so this is like a Squire version of the Prime Monarch? Okay. Which is, for those who don't know, the Prime Monarch is a trap card. Monarch. Let's do that. The Prime Monarch is a trap card that allows you to target 2 Monarch spell traps in the graveyard, shuffle in the deck, and draw a card, or when this card is in the graveyard, you can banish a spell trap in the graveyard, especially summon this card in defense position as a normal monster with 1000 attack and 2400 defense. So it's got the opposite stats of a Monarch. The attack and defense are swapped, and it's a level 5 instead of a level 6. So it's not really a Monarch so much as it is a way to tribute summon out your Monarchs. So this is interesting to make a Squire for that Monarch, especially considering it's giving normal Squire stats instead of like reversed Squire stats. And it's just a normal, like a fucking effect monster, right? So it's level 1 Light Warrior. You can only use the first, second, and third effects of this card in once per turn. Reveal a Monarch spell trap in your hand, so something this card from your hand. Okay, so it very easily gets itself onto the field. That's nice. You definitely want to get a guy on the field. During your main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves tribute summon one monster. That's pretty nice. That gives you an additional summon. Not only does this card not use your normal summon, it also gives you an additional tribute summon. That's pretty cool. This card sends to the graveyard. You can special summon a monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense for your deck. You can special summon extra deck for the rest of this turn, and that of course gets you any of the Squires, except for Ignite or Shiranui or Penguin or Xian. No, it's only getting Idia and Eidos. Oh boy. And these guys on summon, Idia can summon Eidos basically. Like, so Idia can summon any monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense, so it can get you Eidos and locks you out of the extra deck, which you don't need in this deck. And then it also, like when it's in the grave, can get you a banished Monarch spell trap, which is pretty cool. Eidos on summon, which can also be activated after Idia summons it. So you can go Tessera after Tessera is tributed. You go Eidos and then or Idia, sorry, and then Idia gets Eidos, and then Eidos can let you tribute summon a monster in addition to your normal, so you get another tribute, which can be a 2 tribute guy because you have Idia as material as well. And then, you can also banish this card for the graveyard, target a monster with 800 and 1,000 defense in your graveyard, and special summon it. So you get another guy on field too, which is pretty neat. So, like, you could easily go Tessera special summon, Tessera tribute summon, tribute a guy onto the field, Tessera effect, summon Idia effect, summon Eidos effect to summon a 2 guy, Eidos effect to get Idia back on field, or Tessera, either one, and then tribute summon another with your normal summon. Assuming you have 3 tributes in hand to do that with. All right, so here's a new spell trap. Honestly, again, Monarchs already have some very powerful spell traps. They don't even need anything here. I would honestly kind of rather have more monsters, but let's see what they got. Scheme of the Monarchs. You can only use the second effect once per turn. Send a Monarch spell trap for your deck to the grave, except for Scheme. So this is to send Pantheism, I believe, because Pantheism has a pretty good graveyard effect. Manage to card for your graveyard. Reload 3 spell traps. Your opponent chooses one for you to add to your hand. Shuffle the rest back. Yeah. Like the effect in hand is pretty nice too, but the effect in grave is crazy. Trying to remember if any of these other, I guess the Prime Monarch also has a decent graveyard effect, just gets you tribute material on field. That one pops a set card. I guess that's fine. I think the rest of them kind of don't. Oh, this one has declare an attribute alpha. Okay, so this one lets you do some attribute swaps. I think that's it. Oh, by the way, here's the one I was talking about. Thestalos, the Shadowfire Monarch. That's the new one from 2023. It's not as new as I thought. I did not realize it was not that new anymore. Oopsie. Oh, geez. Okay, so it lets you do that first. That's like fine. If this card becomes banished, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. So this you have to banish it somehow, but that's not too difficult. What did Pantheism do again? Didn't it do something like that? Banishes card from your graveyard. No, just banish it itself. Was there something else that banishes spell traps from the grave? I don't remember there being anything that did that. I don't know. If this card becomes banned, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Add a monster with 2400 attack and 1000 defense and the same attribute from your deck to or graveyard to your hand. And immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon Zaborg, Mobius, Thestalos, Grandmarg, Ryza, or Caius. This card does not seem very good. So like, the Foolish Burial is decent. The Foolish Burial for spell traps is decent, but your only target that really does much is Pantheism. I'm not seeing a good way to banish the card after you get it into the graveyard. I could be wrong on that. I don't remember there being one. Did the Prime Monarch do something with that? Banish one other Monarch spell trap. Okay, so what they're trying to get you to do is send the Prime Monarch to summon the Prime Monarch. That's really bad. That's like really bad. I'm not doing that. I don't want to summon the Prime Monarch. I don't give a shit about the Prime Monarch. And then you have to play all these shitty cards. Like, God, these cards are not relevant anymore. Not even Caius. Like, there's so many Monarchs that you could play instead of these guys. Why would you want to play this? Nah, I don't think so. All right, Rebellion of the Monarchs. So it's like the story that the regular Monarchs are like rising up against the king of the Monarchs, whatever the heck his name is, Erebus. So what is his name? Eidos. Eidos became a monarch and is rising up against Erebus. Interesting. You can only use the second and first effect of this card's name each once per turn. Discard a card. You can have special ability trick for the rest of this turn. Also reveal 3 monsters with 800, 2400 or more an attack and 1000. 800 or 2400 or more attack and 1000 defense from your deck. This is like such a weird way to word this, but you have to do it this way. Or your opponent chooses one for you to add to your hand. Also send the rest to the grave. Oh, to the grave. Interesting. Manage this card from your graveyard. Special summon a monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense from your hand. Okay, so your opponent is never giving you the 800 attack one. They're only giving you like the 2400 or more, unless you reveal 3 with 800. Which, you know, you can't just reveal the same card 3 times. So this is Pantheism for the monsters. It's Pantheism for the monsters. I mean, sure, I guess. It's like fine. Culmination of the Monarchs. Holy shit, this has a lot of text. If your opponent special summons a monster and you control a tribute summoned monster, you can banish 1 Monarch spell trap from your graveyard. Okay, so this is another way to banish a Monarch spell trap and activate one of these effects, but you can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. The thing is, though, it doesn't really it's like a 2-card combo because this doesn't get you to this card on the field, and this needs to be on the field to do this thing. It is interesting that Eidos appears to be able to wield the elements of all the main of all the old Monarchs. If your opponent special summons a monster, okay, so when they special summon, you can do this. If you have a contribute summon monster on the field, banish a Monarch spell trap from the graveyard. Activate one of these effects. You only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. It's a continuous trap, so you can do each of them once. If you have a Monarch spell trap to banish for each one. Destroy a monster on field, destroy the 2 spell traps on the field, discard a random card from your opponent's hand, destroy 1 set card, place 1 card on the field on top of the deck, banish a card on the field. Okay, so it has all the Monarch effects. That's kind of cute. This is a cute card. Is it good? I don't know. Because the thing about Monarchs is that they have, I mean, I guess Prime Monarch is really the way to recycle the cards. Which is pretty slow if you think about it. But the recycling doesn't need to be particularly fast. I don't know, man. As a note, the text for Advanced Summon, Tribute Summon on the Japanese card has been updated to use a summon as a shorthand. Huh. That's funny. I didn't realize they called it advanced summon. That makes the Duelist Advance make a little bit more sense. It's like is this a tribute summon themed set? I don't know. These cards kind of suck. No, I mean, Eidos is good and Tessera is good. Those two monsters are pretty good. I think the spell is a little underwhelming, but only a little bit. It is still Foolish Burial for Pantheism, and then Pantheism can get you into any Monarch spell that you are running 3 copies of, or it has a chance to get you one that you were looking for. Rebellion is like Pantheism for the main deck for like the monsters, and that's maybe good enough to play. And the trap is interesting. I don't know if the trap is good because it does let you get those old school effects off, and you get to choose which one you're using too. And it's just like a continuous trap on field that's a little harder to interact with for a lot of decks. So it is interesting to have some back row support for the deck. It really widens out the play for Monarchs. But like at the end of the day, Monarch is sitting on the Monarchs Erupt. So but this Scheme of the Monarchs gets you Pantheism in gray, which makes it easier to get to Monarchs Erupt. So you got 3 copies of Monarchs Erupt. You got 3 copies of Pantheism, which is pretty easy to get in the grave. You just have to activate it, and then you can just do it. And then Scheme is another 3 copies to just send the Pantheism to the grave and then do its thing. I don't know. It's not awful for sure. Thing is about this card specifically, you have to run 3 copies if you want to have consistent access to it, right? Because of the way Pantheism works. And Rebellion is Pantheism for the main deck monsters. I guess they're all main deck monsters. There's not extra deck monsters. So the monsters. But again, you have to be running 3 of them to get the one you want. I mean, I guess you probably do want to run 3 of Tessera and Eidos, which are probably the 2 you're going to be wanting to get. You're going to want to get one of the 2, because there's actually nothing on Tessera that gets you better access to the tribute guys. Eidos can get you better access to some of the bigger guys. Either a spell trap, which can get you into anything, because then you have Pantheism and you have Revenge, or whatever it's called. Is it Revenge? Rebellion. Or it can get you into one of the big guys, like the Underworld Monarch, Erebus, which is a pretty decent card. Aether's not bad either. The main thing is, what I'm trying to get at is, these cards take up a lot of space. They take up a lot of space. You're running 3 Eidos. You're running 3 Tessera. You're probably running a bit more of Eidos and Idia. Like you might want to run like 2 of each of those. I don't know if you want to run 3 of each of those, but you probably want to run 2 of each of those at least. you're probably not running Delg. You probably are running there's like what is its name? It probably is on the second page if it'll load. No, not gonna load the second page this time. Classic issue. What if can I just upgrade the limit here? There we go. There's a light monarch. Kuraz the light monarch. So this one activates on normal or special summon, so this could be pretty good off of either, I guess, because of the H there. But all it does is pop 2 cards on field and then draw 1 card for the cards they control. So it's a draw tool, but like it doesn't do much else. It does get a big guy on field, but that's about it. Oh, domain, right. So you want to play, you probably want to play domain, you probably want to play eruption. And you have to play 3 of each to make sure you actually get them off of Pantheism. And you got to play, the 3 Pantheism. You got to play the 3 Scheme to send it. You got to play, 3 Rebellion. If you want to play this, you have to play 3 of it. It's like, that's the problem with the deck, is that everything in the deck, to get consistent access to it, you've got to run 3 of it. And I think that's going to be like a limiting factor here, because it really significantly reduces the amount of non-engine you can play, which I think is a huge problem. Like, this is great and all. It'll be like fine and all if you're going first, but what if you're going second, right? What happens when you're going second in this deck, which you will have to do? That's the problem, in my opinion. And so that's what's making me think like, I don't know. It's a little these cards are good, but like I think there's a fundamental issue with the way Monarch is built that prevents it from being anything playable at all in the current like format. Because it just can't go second, essentially. I mean, like, which is weird to say because Monarchs have like these tribute effects that do things on the opponent's field when they're tributed. So you'd think it would be good going second because they're board breakers, right? The Monarchs are board breakers historically, but you don't play any of those anymore, right? Not really. You don't play a lot of them. Like maybe you play Caius. I mean, maybe we could play Caius and then we can do Caius with the Scheme. That's like okay. I don't know. These ones are it's hard to say. I think you could see like some amount of success just because these cards do make the deck a lot better. And the deck has 2 of the most powerful floodgates in the entire game. So that means you could theoretically make some wins happen. I know Lithium. Lithium had a decent amount of success like sometime in 2024, I believe, playing a Monarch deck at it was some event. It was an event over there, and he had a decent amount of success basically based on eruption, like Monarchs erupt. So like since these cards make that better, could you see some decent success with this? I think so. But your luck would run out eventually, and that's just the issue here, is that your luck will run out. You will not get the perfect run. This is going to be like these cards are powerful, but you can only go first so many times in the tournament. You will have to go second eventually. And I just don't think that this deck can handle going second very well, despite the fact that it is full of board breakers, because the way modern Monarch works, you need to get things started before you start board breaking. You need to establish a little bit of a field before you can actually do any of the board breaking. Although, Stormforth, you always have Stormforth. But like again, that's more cards. You probably don't even main Stormforth. You probably have it in the side for when, and then you just take a little L if you go second on the first game. Because again, it just takes up so much room. There's so much room in your deck dedicated to this engine. Yeah, yeah, but these are decent cards. Like I'm not gonna say like it's bad. Really, it is just. I think the game has moved past the gameplay strategy of the Monarchs, and so these cards are very powerful, but they kind of have a bit of a they're running up against modern card design, right? Yeah, these are. It's hard to place because like the more I think about it, like the more like are these cards good enough that they can just ignore non-engine? Like, who needs non-engine? Like, you don't need like a dimension shifter or droll. You got your own floodgates, right? You don't need, but like they're not floodgates you can activate on your opponent's turn, and they're going first. But like they've got their own board breakers, like with just with the Monarch effects in general, but with the Monarch Stormforth. But they can't really like, and like a lot of decks these days like are able to like play through hand traps. So maybe like, do the hand traps actually matter anymore? Can Monarch be powerful enough with all these new cards that they can ignore hand traps entirely, just go all in on Monarch cards and play into just let Ryzial play their deck and then just destroy them? Because Ryzial is pretty, like, as far as like modern decks go, we're in a low to the ground format, relatively speaking. Low to the ground, but like impossible to interrupt. So like, what if these cards facilitate a game plan where you're no longer trying to interrupt your opponent, you're just going to board break them, or you're going to establish a floodgate going first. So that way you've got going first and going second settled, but it's all in engine. That's actually kind of interesting, right? Is this good enough to facilitate that? That's the question, right? And like, I think the problem here is you draw 3 Eidos, 2 Caius, and you lose. I think at the end of the day, the biggest problem with all of this is that you still have to play all these fucking tribute guys that don't do anything if you don't have something to tribute. What are the odds of drawing a brick like that? Pretty low, probably, because you have this guy, you have Eidos, you have Area, you have all these spell traps that you're playing. But the odds aren't 0 that you just draw a brick hand. Or you draw a hand that doesn't have enough of the tributes. You just, like, how many tributes are you playing? You're probably playing as few tributes as possible to avoid situations like that. But then you have a situation where you don't draw any tributes, and maybe you don't draw a way to get to tributes. Because, like, how do you get the tributes? Well, you can you can just draw them. Just draw them. You can grab Rebellion. Rebellion searches them. Scheme searches them after you use it. You can add one, but only if your opponent controls a face-up monster with the same attribute. Where's Eidos? Does Eidos? I don't remember if Eidos searches one. Where did Eidos go? I guess he doesn't even mention them. I guess. Yeah, Eidos doesn't search them either. So like. So like. like you see what I'm saying here? Like, you either load up on tributes to the point where you could easily brick on tribute monsters, or you risk not drawing a tribute monster. Return can get you stuff when you tribute a monster, I guess. Return is interesting. I don't actually like it. It seems a little bit win more perhaps, but it might be fun to run in here, because like you can get some serious chains of tribute summoning. Like you get a lot of material on field, but like how do you get the monsters to tribute summon, right? This is a way to get more of them. But yeah, there's not a lot of searchers for the tribute monsters, right? It's literally Rebellion and Eidos, who is himself a tribute. and I guess Scheme, but again, your opponent has to control a monster with the same attribute. I wonder if you run like these fuckers in the side deck just to side them in for different attribute matchups. Maybe not all of them, but like if you expect to maybe run into some fire decks, you like run Thestlos in the side to side in for those. That'd be kind of cute. Okay, so now I've kind of like flipped a little bit. Now I think this is actually a really interesting deck that could theoretically just work on a different axis than other decks, where it is not running any hand traps at all. It is just running purely on its board breakers and its ability to floodgate going first. So it has a going first, going second game plan, all in engine. Although the board, maybe you just run, maybe you run a couple of like board breaker non-engine, just because the only board breakers you have are the Monarchs themselves or Stormforth, and Stormforth is a 3-of in a 40 card deck, you know, and the only way you could search it is with Pantheism, which is going to require, you know, activating a spell, and maybe you can't get that off if your opponent has established a board, you know. But you know, something like that, right? Something like that I'm describing. So maybe you have to run a little bit of like board breaker stuff. Sure. But the problem I'm seeing with this now is, instead of it being an issue of it can't play the hand traps because we're just ignoring that, we're playing a different game. It's just the classic Monarch problem of how do you balance enough tributes but not too many tributes? And like, even if you get the perfect balance, you're still going to have times where you can't access a tribute, or you can't access material for the tribute. Probably not the latter one, probably more the former one, actually. But because you're probably going to go light on tribute monsters. All right, I think that's my final evaluation there. Very interesting. I kind of like this conception of it, maybe. We'll have to see what people do with it. There's definitely going to be people experimenting with this. Monarch is a very popular strategy because it's such a long and storied history. I don't think any of this really supports... well, you know, I was about to say I don't think any of this supports the deep draw version of the deck, but you know, I kind of do think it does a little bit. Tessera is kind of crazy. And Eidos is pretty crazy as well. They're just like... So, like, maybe you could do something, and, like, none of these have anything to do with the extra deck, except for, you know, this, I guess. But that's just special summoning for the extra deck, so you could still run, like, extra and stuff, which is pretty neat. So I think Deep Draw Monarch might be back on the menu, too. I don't know about that. That one is significantly worse. Don't get me wrong. Deep Draw Monarch significantly worse than the one I was describing earlier, I think, because it really can't go second. Like, really can't go second at all. So that's it for me, though. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of these cards down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hey there, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I got a lot more for you if you want them. Just hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notifications. I'd also appreciate if you left me a like and a comment, and maybe shared the video around with your friends. You can also follow me on all the usual social media sites. Just check out my website in the description below for more info. My videos are funded by my patrons and YouTube members, whose names you'll see scrolling by in these credits here. For just $1 a month, you too can find yourself here, trapped in my end screen for all eternity. In particular, I'd like to thank Haru Hayes, Fleakill, Frog Prince Michael, the Almighty Ferret Lord, and Fire Mizumi. A big thanks to all my other patrons and to my little community as a whole. Remember to be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and have a wonderful whatever time it is for you. Bye-bye.